Hello and welcome to the Airbnb Superhost podcast. I'm Neil Harvey, your personal superhost. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. And if you're a regular listener, thank you for your support. This podcast aims to share the highs, the lows, the opportunities and challenges that I've had over the last decade or so of hosting with Airbnb. And I'm hoping that my experiences will help you to achieve your own ambitions, whether you're a live-in host or an absent host. I'll share my tips on how to keep those 5-star reviews rolling in and how to qualify and stay a superhost and earn that guest favourite badge, which really does help to bring the money in. And I'll be sharing another superhost secret, my takeaway that I guarantee will put you on the path towards success. You know, it's these secrets that have helped me to get to where I am today and have enabled me to give up the JOB and live off the income from hosting, just from my own home. And to place this episode onto my success triangle, which consists of you, the property, and our partner, Airbnb, this episode actually is about all three. Last week, I had my first ever public speaking engagement on the subject of being a live-in host with Airbnb. I know, standing in front of real people, not just talking to my camera or into a microphone. I'd been invited to what's known as a PIN meeting, that's Property Investors Network. And the venue was in Wales, which meant it was a 450-mile round trip, a night in a hotel and absolutely no fee for speaking. But I got so much value from it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Neil, you run an Airbnb. Why didn't you book an Airbnb? Support the team. And you'd be right to ask. But here's the thing. Up until May 26th this year, I had an unbroken streak of 1,158 consecutive nights hosting guests. That's over 3 years without a single night without a guest. But that break reminded me that occasionally, just occasionally, I do enjoy a night without having to make polite small talk or explain how to light the gas hob one more time. A hotel gave me that luxury. My talk was a short one, just 18 minutes, but the real gold came afterwards during the Q&A. And the very first question was, Neil, I just don't get it. Why would anyone want to holiday where you live in Hatfield? And honestly, I quite get where he was coming from. Because yes, Hatfield is many things, but a dreamy holiday destination is not exactly topping TripAdvisor's most exotic getaways. But what this question revealed was a very common misconception. The idea that Airbnb is just a hotel booking site. Spoiler alert, it's not by a long shot. I mean, if I want to talk about unglamorous overnight stays, let's go back about 2,000 years to the Christmas story where Mary and Joseph ended up in a stable because the inns were full. People have always needed somewhere to stay that isn't necessarily luxurious, just clean, safe, and available. And Hatfield, my humble patch, is surprisingly busy with all kinds of non-tourists. I get international students hunting for permanent housing. They're just staying with me while they look. Lecturers in town to teach short courses on a regular basis. Mature students retraining in subjects like pharmacy or radiography. People attending courses of dog training or cake making. Parents visiting their kids at university. Office workers doing their 2 to 3 in-office days each week and don't want to do the 2 or 3 more hours travel home and back again the next day. I've got an intern staying with me right now who's just doing 2.5 months at a local company. I've hosted sports competitors competing in things like fencing, ultimate frisbee, swimming, golfing, skiing, tennis, badminton, martial arts, and even pole dancing. Not all at once, mind you. Relatives attending weddings or birthdays, and people need me as an overflow from the family home. Festival goers, craft fair exhibitors at Hatfield House, which is a local attraction. People going through a breakup and needing space. More common than you'd think. And now, I even have an arrangement with a training company to house their trainees. I'm basically their unofficial dormitory. And that is steady, repeat income. And they never complain about the breakfast options because I don't provide breakfast. The B&B stands for bed, no breakfast. Now, If you're listening to this episode and thinking, yeah, but I don't live in a university town, don't worry. I've met hosts who specialise in housing contractors working locally on huge building projects. They specialise in accommodating locum hospital staff, or having guests who are using a local airport and want to be close by for the flight because it's at silly o'clock in the morning. Or they're on a popular walking or cycling route. Or they accommodate visitors coming to local attractions like a llama farm, a steam railway, a theme park, the Harry Potter studios, you name it. The point is, Airbnb is not just about holidays. It's about solving a basic human need. And that is, I need somewhere to sleep. And for a huge range of reasons. So don't make the mistake of limiting your thinking about who your guests might be to be a successful host. You know, sometimes all you need is a clean room, a comfy bed, and in line with Airbnb's tagline, just help your guests feel like they belong anywhere. Or as my own personal mantra is, create a home from home through your actions. Now, another question that came up after my talk was this little gem. How do you make sure you get any downtime if you're continually hosting? And I thought, yes, another common misconception. The idea that if you run an Airbnb, you're basically on call like a surgeon 24/7, 365 days, just waiting in the wings with fresh towels and a jug of orange juice. But here's the truth. You're not running a hotel, and you're definitely not a hostage to your guests. Airbnb gives you complete control over when and how you host. Honestly, it's one of the best kept secrets of the platform. Let me break it down a bit. Each of your listings comes with a calendar that stretches off into the future like a time machine. And the good news? You hold the keys. You decide. You decide how far in advance guests can book. Now, personally, I only allow bookings up to 3 months ahead. Why? Because if I suddenly decide I wanted to disappear for 10 weeks and take a vow of silence and spend all that time in the Himalayan retreat with Tibetan monks, then I can. All I need to do is just plan it to be a little over 3 months out and I'm sorted. You can hide listings entirely. They're not deleted, they're just in stealth mode. It's called unlisted. Think of it like Airbnb's version of going off-grid. All your hard work in setting it all up is still available, it's just not visible until you choose to tick the list box again. And you can determine how many days notice needs to be given before a booking can be made. In other words, how much notice do you need between a guest booking and their arrival? And the purpose of this is to give you time to prepare the room adequately. And if you set it as 1 day, then effectively the calendar is automatically blocked for booking by the system for the day after the current date. And in a similar vein, you can set preparation time, which determines how many nights before and after each reservation do you need to block off to reset the rooms. You can block off specific dates. I've just invited family to come and stay in a couple of weeks' time, so I've blocked out all the rooms for their visit. And this way I don't accidentally end up trying to fit my sister in with a German business consultant into the same spare room. You can also block off check-in and check-out days. So if you don't want anyone arriving whilst you're away, so you're not there at the weekend, just block off Saturday and Sunday so they're not available for check-ins. You control the trip length, how long people can stay. There's a minimum nights button. My grandmother used to say guests and fish have something in common. They both start to smell if they hang around for too long. Admittedly, she wasn't running a hosting business and she may have been slightly traumatized by visitors who just wouldn't leave. But the point stands. If you don't want guests hanging around too long, just set a maximum stay length. Minimum stay, you control that too. There's a minimum nights button. So if you don't want to do laundry every single day, you don't have to. Set your minimum stay to 2, 3, whatever nights you want to, and that will help keep your sanity intact and your washing machine from dissolving in its own detergent. So really, the flexibility is incredible. Want to host only at the weekends? You can. Only in July? Absolutely. Only every third weekend of the month when the moon is full and the in-laws are away? Sure. Or, as in the case of one of my employees at work who we discovered was sleeping in the office for a week whilst the parents were away. He was renting out their home without their knowledge so that he could pay off his credit card. Do you know, I even know hosts who only open up their spare rooms when their kids are away at university. The logic? Your bedroom, son, is now funding your beer money. Frankly, why not? There are probably many more calendar tweaks and settings I haven't covered here, but the bottom line is this. You are in total control. You decide when people can stay, for how long, and exactly when you're even open for business at all. So no, you're not signing up for a life of non-stop pillow fluffing and emergency loo roll deliveries. You're signing up with the freedom to operate on your terms. Now, the final question that really caught my attention was this. If I become a live-in host, can I replace my income and leave my job? Well, the short answer, yes, that's exactly what I did. But I could sense that the real question was something along the lines of, surely being a live-in host with Airbnb is just a little side hustle, a bit of hobby money. Something people do so that they have company or to cover their Waitrose addiction. And to be fair, certainly it can be for just that, but can it also be a whole lot more? Now, let's just readdress that question and look at some basics. If we define retirement as quitting your job and not subsequently living off pot noodles and living in the dark, then it's a simple equation. When your income exceeds your outgoings, you're financially free. So if you're spending £1,000 a month and bringing in £1,500 a month, you're laughing. But if your lifestyle costs you £5,000 a month and Airbnb brings in £1,200 a month, well, congratulations for getting that far, but you still need to keep the day job. But beyond just covering costs, there's the issue of sustainability. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received was, don't ditch the day job until your new income has paid for all your bills for at least 1 year. Not just 1 month, a full year, because anyone can have a good month or even 2. But a good year, that shows staying power. Now, let me just take you back a bit. In my first month of hosting, I brought in just over £1,200. And if you've listened to my podcast for a while, you'll remember the saga of my very first guest who just kept rebooking. I ended up playing a kind of musical chairs with the rooms. I'd list the one that he'd just vacated, and by the time I'd blinked, someone else had booked it. So when he asked to stay another week unexpectedly, I'd move him again, even renting out my own bed whilst I slept under the table in the conservatory. Listen to episode 48 and you'll understand why I did that. But those days were Airbnb meets Tetris. And I remember setting myself a goal, £3,000 turnover in a month. It took me 7 months to hit it. Now, looking back, I would have hit that figure so much earlier in half the time if I'd had a mentor guiding me. Now today, if I don't make at least £4,500 a month just from hosting in my own home, I know something's gone off the rails. And I've been doing this hosting for over 10 years now, well, nearly 10 years, and so hopefully I've learned a thing or two along the way. Now, full disclosure, yes, I confess I am a bit extra. I go all in. But it's working for me. And more importantly, I've learned a ton about how to make this lifestyle sustainable. For the last 3+ years, my income has consistently exceeded my outgoings, even after all the bills, maintenance, and the occasional delivery of wildly overpriced bathrobes. It gave me the confidence to sell my traditional business in November 2023 and leave the world of employment. Now, one other key factor I hugely recommend. I am not living hand to mouth off new bookings. For this episode, I analysed the past 3 months and 74% of my business came from repeat or referral guests. And that's the secret. When people come to your area for a reason and keep coming back, it's your job to create a space where they wouldn't dream of staying anywhere else. And no, that's not just about being the cheapest option. Right back at the beginning of this podcast series, I talked about the importance of knowing your why. Mine was simple: to create a home from home. And that little phrase has guided everything I do, every decision, every action, and every conversation. And the money? It follows because people buy into your why. So, to wrap up today's episode, we've tackled 3 very common but very limiting ideas about Airbnb hosting as a live-in host. Airbnb is just for holidays, point number 1. No! It's for whoever needs a bed, not just beachgoers and Harry Potter fans. It's from lecturers and interns to pole dancers and dog trainers. I've even hosted a photographer for Berlin who specialised in fetish parties. How about that? You know, the demand for short stays comes in all shapes and sizes. Misconception number 2. You must be on duty 24/7. Wrong again. The platform's designed to give you control. Want to host just at the weekends? Great. Or just the weekdays? Or have the summer off? Or only open your home when the in-laws aren't occupying the spare room? Well, you can. You're not running a hotel. You're running your life. Number 3. You can't replace a full-time income with just your own home. Actually, you can, and I have. But it takes consistency, learning, and a willingness to build relationships with repeat guests. Hosting isn't just a hobby income for lonely extroverts. It can be a reliable, flexible, and profitable business if you treat it that way. Now, ultimately, the beauty of hosting with Airbnb is in its flexibility. It can bend and mold to fit your lifestyle, your income goals, and your why. Whether you want a side hustle to pay for date nights and dog food, or a full-time income that frees you up from the 9 to 5. It's possible. So here's my Superhost secret for this episode. Take 15 minutes this week to create a simple list entitled, "Why would they want to stay?" If you're a host, go back over your last 10 to 20 bookings or more if you're feeling ambitious, and for each guest, jot down why they stayed. Were they working nearby, visiting family, competing in a sports event, moving house, on a course? And when you do this, you'll start to spot patterns. For instance, lots of course attendees, visiting lecturers staying, or festival goers. And once you know why people are booking with you, use these insights to update your listing description, to tailor your messaging, speak directly to your most common guest types and make them feel, you get them. Bonus tip, mention local attractions or events they're likely to be attending. It helps you stand out and appear more relevant in search results. Now, the reason why this works is because most hosts sell the space. Great hosts sell the solution. Knowing why people book gives you a powerful edge and helps turn first-timers into loyal regulars. And here's a limerick rhyme to summarise the Superhost secret. A savvy old host once would say, "Know why your guests come, and they'll stay, be it training or sport or a boardroom report. These patterns will help you get paid." Well, that's it for this episode. If you know anyone who might be thinking about earning some money through hosting, please do share this podcast series with them. Follow me on Instagram, etc. at SuperhostNeil for more tips, tricks, and a bit of laughter. And till next time, may your rooms be booked, your reviews 5-star, and you know exactly why your guests are booking with you.